Charlie.
Well, it ain't Frosty.
Hello survivors and welcome to Survivor's Guild, the only channel that determines your odds of surviving 1998's horrifying snowman flick Jack Frost, as requested by Keith Mann, Sackhead Ed, and Nice Doge. So stay tuned till the end for your survival stats. I'm your sharp-dressed slasher turned horror host, GhostFake. Now I hope you like losing your dad but gaining a friend. Oh, that trade sucks. Cause this movie is getting spoiled. Jack Frost, written by Mark Steven Johnson, Steve Bloom, and Jonathan Roberts, and directed by Troy Miller, starring Michael Keaton, Kelly Preston, and Joseph Cross. Jack Frost is about an unhinged musician who dies only to come back as a dangerous snowman. We open up to the Jack Frost band, who seems to be having a good time, but at what cost?
He was made of ice and snow, and he came to life one day.
Music's cost, that's what. Even their violinist knows that this isn't good. But apparently there's a scout in the audience that wants to sign them. Anyway, the next day we learn that the town is made of snow, before we get introduced to Charlie, Jack's son, who is getting out of school on Christmas break. But he then walks into a deadly snowball war. Charlie faces off against school bully slash 7th grader Rory Buck.
Can you say brain freeze?
And comes out ahead, this time. Anyway, Charlie hikes 1,000 miles to get home, only to find his dad's not home. But we do get introduced to his mom, Gabby. Later, Jack gets home, but it's too late. Charlie is already dead.
Wow. Looked like you were sleeping. Didn't it look like you were sleeping?
You look like you were asleep, Charlie.
I mean asleep. He fell asleep waiting for his dad. Jack wakes Charlie up and the two of them build a snowman before they have a snowball fight. Aw, cute family. You just hate to see what's gonna happen to them. Later, Charlie is telling his dad how he messed up the snowman, only to delve into the real problem men have.
I made the head too big.
Yep.
You're the one putting the bottom ball on the top ball.
Dude, it hurts when that happens. Before Jack gives him a harmonica for Christmas. A harmonica that he says he bought the day that Charlie was born. And he tells him that the harmonica has magic powers and that no matter where his dad is, if he plays it, Jack will hear it. And Charlie invites him to his hockey game tomorrow, but the Jack Frost band will be in the studio recording. But he says that he'll make it anyway. The next day, Mac helps hang Christmas lights while Jack gets ready. Jack acts like a dad for a minute before heading to the studio. And we get a montage of the Jack Frost band in the studio while Charlie gets his ass handed to him during the game.
And seeing that we're behind the devils again and again and again.
Jack gets home, having missed the game, and gets chewed out by his wife for having broken another promise to Charlie. He apologizes to Charlie, kind of, talking about how his dream of becoming a musician is colliding with Charlie's dream of having a dad, before promising him that his family will get away for a real Christmas vacation. Cut to the next day or so, when the family is going to head to the cabin, but on their way out the door, Jack gets a call from a label. But he is told on the call that he must play for the studio exec on Christmas. Gabby negotiates with Jack, and Charlie gets crushed as his dad will miss Christmas Day. But while the band is heading to the gig, Jack decides that he doesn't want to go, and that he wants to be with his family. And the band doesn't want to go either.
Hey guys,
You.
the gig's off.
Thank you, Santa.
Alright.
Mac loans his car to Jack, and Jack starts his trek to the cabin. But on his drive, he gets caught in a blizzard and crashes Mac's car, crashing Jack into the meat bank at deposit number 1, while his family waits for him to get back. Kinda reminds me of how my dad left 30 years later and he still hasn't returned with that milk. I hope he's okay. Cut to 1 year later, Charlie is getting out of school for his winter break, when Rory tries to pick on him, but his side bullies mention that Charlie is no fun to pick on ever since his dad died. Yeah, probably. And Rory remarks that he never even met his dad. Well, that makes sense. Charlie walks the 1,000,000 miles to get home and starts shoveling the driveway, when this happens.
Damn it.
Hey, watch your mouth, kid. And his mom drives up, and she offers to floor it through the snow. But Charlie starts crying, and they collapse together in the snow. I want to crack jokes, but damn it, this is actually kind of sad. Later that night, when his babysitter Mac falls asleep, Charlie heads outside and builds a snowman and tops it off with his dad's hat, before finding the harmonica that his dad gave him before he gave it back to his dad. And that night he plays it, which in turn summons the dark magic to conjure his father back in the form of a snowman, apparently not having any awareness of where he has been or that he's been dead. And after scaring Charlie and himself, he comes to the realization that he is indeed a potentially homicidal snowman, before he gets carried away by a plow.
Big headache! Oh
And after putting himself back together, he makes his way back to the house and Gabby pulls up. She stops to admire the snowman that's wearing her dead husband's clothes, and then she tries to go inside. Charlie tries to tell his mom that the snowman is alive, and she ignores what he said and tries to move on. That night, the snowman walks around town having an existential crisis, trying to figure out why he's come back in the form of a snowman, as well as scaring Sid, Charlie's hockey coach.
Sid, is that you? I've been hearing great things about you. Seriously, Sid, could you?
The next day, Charlie threatens the snowman with a hairdryer, and when he pulls the trigger, the snowman threatens to ground him, causing Charlie to run away. But he runs up on Rory and his friends bullying Charlie's friends, but decides not to help them and walks away. Until the snowman beams Rory with a snowball, which they think came from Charlie. And because the snowman is on a hill behind Charlie, they can't see him, I guess? The snowman continues his all-out snowball assault, trying to kill these kids, until he runs out of snow, causing the bullies to gang up on Charlie. Maybe he's only trying to kill one kid. The bullies chase Charlie to a cliff and begin pelting him with snowballs, until he is forced to hang off the cliffside, holding desperately onto some exposed tree roots. But as his grip slips, the snowman, who is now magically at the bottom, uses his body and some sleds to catapult his way into the air, to catch him, and the two of them land on the sled. The snowman then begins propelling them down the hill, and when the snow bullies notice that Charlie survived, they grab their sleds and boards and take chase. The snowman begins his true crusade to murder these kids, sending them wiping out all over the hillside. We've got kids fracturing their skulls, breaking their backs, getting crushed by giant snowballs. Yet each one of them is confirmed to live, probably because of the MPAA, until Charlie and the snowman are about to hit a tree, so the snowman breaks the sled so they can split. Rory gains on Charlie, only to be jump scared by the snow beast and take a deadly tumble down the mountainside. And get smashed in the face with his own board. By the way, where the hell did this mountain come from? The snow monster and Charlie make it to the bottom of the mountain, and Charlie calls him out for trying to get him killed.
Hold on. You almost got me killed.
Hey, I saved your butt too, pal.
Before convincing Charlie that he is indeed his father.
Hold on, what'd you call me?
I said Charlie boy.
Dad?
Charlie takes the snowman home to get it something to eat since there is nothing in the meat bank but him. But then Gabby comes home. She notices that the snowman is no longer in the yard, a terrifying revelation for sure, and heads inside. Charlie distracts his mom long enough for the snowman to hide, and long enough for him to get back outside. The next day, Charlie tries to sneak out without alerting the snowman, but the snowman catches him and enslaves him, forcing him to pull him around town on a sled. And after Gabby sees her son walking around town talking to a snowman, she commissions Mac to talk to Charlie to find out if he's lost his mind, or if something more sinister is afoot. Meanwhile, Charlie takes the snowman to his secret fortress of solitude, and the snowman decides to help him practice his hockey skills before they head home. But when they get back to the house, the snowman starts ordering him around and telling him to rejoin the hockey team, and to get his grades up, and to take care of his mom. Charlie recognizes that the snowman is trying to oppress him, and he rebels, only to walk into his house where his mom and Mac make him choose between going with Mac to the Shiverfest or going with his mom caroling. While at the Shiverfest, Mac shows him a father-son snowman building contest. I bet he wishes he had a father. And Mac talks to him about talking to snowmen. And Charlie catches eyes with the not quite dead yet Rory, who probably also wishes he had a father. And while they listen to the band play, Mac talks with him about why he quit playing music. Because when Jack died, music became a chore. Cut to Christmas Eve, where the temperature is rising and it's supposed to get hotter. And Charlie tells Jack that he would like to rejoin the team. Before his friends show up and Charlie makes amends with his friends and rejoins the team. Charlie then goes to play the last game before Christmas, while Jack Frost tries to find a way to get to the rink and watch his son play, with the elements working against him, with his last challenge being to cross a hot parking lot to get to the rink. He melts and slides all the way into the rink to see Charlie make the game-winning shot. Charlie finds his dad and talks to him, when Jack gets weak because of how much he's melting. Charlie runs out of the building trying to find another way to keep the snowman from melting, and he runs into his mom's work to try to get her to drive him to the mountains to preserve the snow monster. But she declines and tells him that he kinda needs to get over his dad.
Honey, he died a year ago. You're just gonna have to accept that.
And in front of customers. That's brutal. So Charlie runs away. Gabby enlists Mac's help to try to find him.
Charlie's run away with the snowman. Really?
While Charlie tries to sneak the snowman onto a truck, when Rory finds him, wanting to fight. But Jack speaks up, telling him to back off. Rory, who's just happy to not be crazy, realizes that the true meaning of Christmas is that Snow Dad is better than No Dad.
All right. Snow Dad's better than No Dad.
He helps Charlie get the melting snowman into the truck. The Christmas tree truck then heads into the mountains to get more Christmas trees, while Gab and Mac file a police report. Cut to a little bit later as the truck heads into the deep mountains. Charlie and Jack jump out of the truck and tumble down the mountain a little bit, and then they hike to their cabin. The snowman tucks Charlie in and tries to eat him, but is far too weak. Jack then calls Gabby to lure her to the cabin, telling her that that's where Charlie is.
Who is this?
Before he hangs up the phone and heads outside to regain his strength before Gabby arrives. Early the next day, Christmas morning, Charlie wakes up and wishes his dad a Merry Christmas. Jack tells him that although he had a good time not being dead, it's time for him to go, and gives him back the harmonica. Gabby arrives at the cabin in time to see the same dark magic that brought back Jack as a snowman show them his original form, minus whatever horrific injuries he sustained when he drove Mac's car off a cliff, before the Dark Master takes him back to the Hell World, and the movie ends. So now, to find out, what are your chances of suffering survivor's guilt? This is where we take a look at our main characters and the death that surrounds them to determine your odds of surviving this movie. And here to deliver this movie's stats is self-proclaimed Jack Frost superfan Alex from Beyond the Void Horror Podcast.
Oh, GhostFake, thank you so much, man, for having me on. It's a real pleasure to be on here. I'm honored. Thank you very much. To be able to speak about one of my favorite killer snowman movies is just like a huge honor.
That's not the right movie. We're covering the 1998 film, the one with Batman.
What do you
not
mean?
Whatever B-rate dumpster disc you're holding up.
Oh.
Obviously, my survivors were asking me to cover 1998.
It's not that movie. Turd burglar, stick, bottom sucking. I mean, I don't know. Mom, I'll eat my cheese sticks later. I'm an adult. People will say that you're nobody.
Alex was in Egypt land. Let my Alex go.
I'll do it. I'll watch. I will watch Twilight, the new moon. You just watch me. No.
Straps and deliver these stats.
All right, yeah, sounds good, man. Let's do it. Sorry about the mistake there. But anyway, so we, of course, start off with the meat banks with Jack Frost, who, of course, not only fails at being a parent, but also fails at being a musician, a professional one, supposedly. And he also fails at taking a right turn as he slams into the barrier and lands into the meat bank at deposit number 1. So now let's take a look at our survivors. We have Charlie, Gabby, Rory, Mac, and of course Sid. And of those total 6, only 5 survive, giving you an 83.33% chance of surviving this movie. Now with those odds, is Snow Dad better than No Dad? Let us know in the comments down below.
Huge thanks to Alex from Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. Go check out Alex and Christina as they run the gamut on everything horror on the Beyond the Void Horror Podcast on pretty much every platform. And for even more horror movie reviews, check them out on YouTube at Beyond the Void. And check out Alex on Twitch at Deacon Rain. And again, Alex, huge thanks for delivering today's stats. And a huge thanks to my patrons, Chris D, Sackhead Ed, Bubba T, Max H, Video Creep, Populio, Valentina P, Mintrix, Brady D, Matthew, Vids for You, Mr. Nightmare Fuel, Maxwell the Kaiju Man, Lobotomite, Whiskey, and Tobias4223. Thank you guys so much for your support, and thank you all for a wonderful year. And cheers to 2022. Have a Merry Christmas, guys, and as always, thanks, and don't die.